Hey, good morning, Choice Residential. Hope your day's off to a wonderful start. Today, I want to talk about the section of the offer to purchase where you historically would have entered in who the deed was going to be made out to. But as of last year in 2023, when they made an edit to the offer to purchase, they changed that paragraph a little bit. So I want to clear up some confusion and make sure you know how to fill this section out correctly and know how to spot when it's been filled out correctly from a buyer agent on one of your listings. So if we come to page 11 of the offer to purchase, and we are in the 2024 revision of the offer to purchase, and we come right here to the paragraph where they're talking about deed, taxes, and fees. And then they have these blanks here. So on previous versions prior to 2023, this is where you would have entered who the deed was going to be made out to, right? Is it made out to Tom and Betty Smith, who are married? Is it being made out to an LLC or some other version of who the deed may be made out to? But what this new version of the paragraph has done is basically said, as long as the deed is being made out to the buyer or a company that the buyer is the sole owner of, like a single member LLC, or a trust in which the buyer is the beneficiary, or any relative of the buyer, then you actually don't need to enter anything into this blank here, because all the pre-printed language says as long as it's being made out to one of these people, then this contract is sufficient as it is, and the buyer and buyer's agent and closing attorney all need to communicate to decide exactly who the deed is being made out to. Now, if it's being made out to someone totally different, so let's say I'm buying the property and I am deeding it to some random person who isn't a relative of mine, then I would enter who the deed is being made out to. Or if I own a company that has multiple members or multiple other owners, then I would enter that in. But the reason why they made this change and made it so that real estate agents no longer, for the most part, we're going to need to type in who the deed is being made out to is because often it was being typed up incorrectly by agents and it was causing confusion. So by not typing anything into this blank, by having the pre-printed language account for who the deed is going to be made out to for all these different scenarios, that means that the buyer and closing attorney are forced to communicate about who the deed is to be made out to. Again, you may have one buyer, but the deed is going to be made out to the husband and wife, or maybe a mother or a grandparent is going to be included on the deed. These are all things that or details that the buyer and closing attorney need to communicate about, and that the buyer agent should be helping facilitate that conversation. So when you receive an offer as a listing agent and there's nothing written in there, don't worry, that's correct. In most cases, nothing will be written in there. You, as a buyer's agent, keep in mind, as long as the person that the deed or entity that the deed is being made out to falls into one of these categories. Again, read the paragraph, but it says buyer or a corporation or LLC or business entity in which the buyer is the sole owner, or a trust in which the buyer is the beneficiary, or any relative of the buyer. So if who the deed is going to be made out to falls into any of those categories, you do not need and you should not write anything into this blank. Make sure the buyer and closing attorney are communicating. If you have questions about that or comments or experiences that you think might be helpful to other agents, please put them in the comments below. Otherwise, as always, have a great day and call me if you need me.